Greetings, this is the Timeshare Traveler. Today is episode 221. How timeshares are different than hotels. I've not done a sort of a comparison for those people who haven't stayed with them. I thought I'd do a quick overview, and for maybe those for people who are timeshare people that don't stay in hotels, I'll just sort of go through the differences. I wanted to provide a general background. So the first thing I'll talk about the full feature set of both, and then timeshares. Typically, I view them as higher quality, having stayed in lots of hotels and lots of timeshares. And then I'll go through the room experience differences and the service experience differences, and also how you pay is different when you stay at a timeshare versus when you stay at a room. And again, there are exceptions to all these rules, so I've created kind of a general sense. That way people that are thinking about timeshares will get a better sense of what it might look like, and those who are experienced or have timeshares kind of can decide whether they want to use a hotel. Some people, once they've had timeshares, don't ever want to stay in a hotel again. Anyway, before I get into detail, give me about 28 seconds. I'll tell you about my channel, and I'll be right back. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. Welcome to my channel. The purpose of my channel is to educate those who love traveling in timeshares. I've been an owner for 15 plus years at timeshare ownership. I have elite ownership with Marriott, Hilton, and Worldmark. I have published over 100 timeshare video reviews, and I've published over 95 timeshare tips. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, at Twitter, Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com. As promised, I'm back. So let's talk about the kind of the full feature. That here's the bottom line of in my mind, like if I had to give you one sort of thing to think about. In timeshares, weekends are more expensive because it's driven by a family. At hotels, weekdays are more expensive because it's really driven around business, and so you often see hotels having specials on the weekend, and that's actually when it's the most points or dollars, if you want to call it, for a timeshare. The other thing is, typically, timeshares all have full kitchens. So you're coming into like an apartment as opposed to a service environment. Good sized dining table and living room. So you have really, it's like an apartment, and usually the fitness center is kind of a little more upscale than you typically see at a typical hotel. Again, there are exceptions to all the rules, but a hotel, you're going to see a coffee maker and a microwave. Most of them have microwaves. And then there's always the question is whether there's a mini fridge or not, or is it hidden, or do they, rarely will you have a major microwave, but you'll have a full kitchen, so you'd have a full-size refrigerator most timeshares. Rarely a couch, and the rooms on most hotels are just a treadmill, a bike, and whatever, maybe a few free weights, but it's pretty minimal. Again, these are generalizations. So that's kind of the first thing I wanted to sort of set the time, sort of set the expectations as far as the differences. Okay, I view timeshares as higher quality, and I'm not saying like there's not a Ritz-Carlton or something like that in a city that isn't amazing and stuff like that. So again, it's a general comment. Timeshares are designed for active use and stays for a week, roughly. I mean, it's shorter, but in general, it's booked for a week. Rooms are bigger and roomier. Most have separate bedrooms and additional storage. Easily fit 4 people, and you can get, if you get a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, you can get 6, 8 people in it. Pools and grounds are typically more expansive, and again, it goes back to a family's going to be here for a week, and they're going to be using the facilities. Whereas a hotel, it's more for business, and if you use the pool, it's kind of a nice to have, and it's just a little smaller. And again, most hotels are single room plus a bathroom. There's usually minimal storage. When I stayed in hotels when my kids were younger and there were 4 or 5 of us, it was always crowded. Suitcases were everywhere, and you sort of like stepped over everything while you were, fitting in the 2 queen-size beds. So it was always very, very challenging from a space, but it was kind of, you were there for a short period, so it didn't matter. Or when I was traveling for business, I just had my room. I just worked all day, came back to my room, maybe had dinner at the restaurant. It was just, again, it was targeted for a totally different audience. It's not a family vacation. Not that you can't use hotels for vacations, but the target audience, I think, is more the business traveler. For hotels and timeshares, it's the family getaway. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the room experience. A timeshare have multiple room sizes. Typically there's a studio, but not always. 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom are typical, and sometimes a 3 bedroom and even 4 I've seen. Most rooms have full kitchens. Studios can have either similar to a hotel, or they'll have a stovetop, or they'll have full kitchens. They tend to have a stovetop plus a full kitchen. Most of the ones that I've stayed at, so they lean toward that. But again, I won't say that exclusively. And again, a hotel typically has really 1 room size. Maybe there's a few different rooms for some of them, but in general, there's 1 room size. And most of the choices are: do you want a king bed, 2 queen beds, 2 doubles, or that's more the room. It's more the bed choice than anything else. So that's kind of the difference in the room experience. It's the feeling of a huge apartment for the timeshare, or even a 3 bedroom house almost, even though it's more like, I should just say, 3 bedroom condo. That's the way it feels, and all the rooms are similar in the decor and so forth. Similar to the hotels, that decor can be very similar, but it's really just 1 room with a bed configuration, typically. Here's the one that I think catches people a little by surprise, those who've been in hotels the first time they stay in timeshares. They're kind of expecting the bed to be made every day at a timeshare, and then the reality is targeted for family living. You move into your place and you live in it, so it's not as often that they're coming in and checking on you and making up beds and stuff like that. It's more if you moved in for a week. Whereas, and cooking is done by the guests in the room or at the barbecue grills. So there's usually 1 cleaning midweek, and it's kind of a tidying up, and it's more of a family experience, and you can spread out and put your stuff and that kind of thing. Whereas a hotel is targeted for a short-term work stay. I mean, again, it can be used for vacations, not saying that. Typically daily, and I'm seeing now more and more every other day, and that's more to save water and whatever, and probably also save costs. Beds made, the room is cleaned up. Most hotels have a free breakfast, or many of them, I should say. There's some that have paid, but the idea is that they have to have a restaurant in a hotel. It's more, you have your breakfast, you go to work, and then there's a dinner. Most of them don't even have lunches if you have that. Whereas if there's a restaurant at the timeshare, and not all of them have it, it's more optional. That is typically a breakfast, lunch, dinner, all available, because it's targeted for people that are on vacation and they're there the whole day. And so it's more of a full service type of situation. So that's kind of fundamentally, I think the biggest difference is people that stayed only in hotels the first time they stay in timeshare, and they're there for a week and they go, wait, no one made my bed. Except once. So that's the biggest, I think, adjustment I had. I didn't consider it adjustment, but that's the biggest difference. The other big difference is the payment of the room. So timeshares use points, credits, they have different names for them, and that's the currency that you pay with. I mean, you can rent them through the hotel sites. I'm not saying that there's not that capability, but in general, you're staying in the room and you pay for the fees when you book. So you allocate, so if you cancel the booking, and there are rules for that, then you get the points back. But you basically prepay the points that you have available to you for the room you have. So you can't book a timeshare if you don't have the points in your account to make that booking. Hotels, on the other side, there are prepaid versions, and that's just, you pay a little bit less. But in general, that you have some free stays for the frequent stayer programs. But in general, you have payment at checkout, and it's actually typically cash, credit cards. Rarely, I think you can use debit cards, but that's a more complicated scenario. Anyway, that's just kind of a summary. I wanted to give a difference between a hotel and a timeshare. Hope you like it. Don't forget to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.